Good evening. Um, Tonight is a share of Supportimaisis, where we're learning the story of the sophisticated and the simpleton, the clever one and the simple one. But of course, being that tonight is Sarah Batavis, it's the Yortzeit of Moreno Rabbeinu, Rebbe Nosson of Breslov. So, and it ties very much into the story of Bichlal, the concept of the sophisticated and the simpleton, and which is so basically Rebbe Nosson said, I knew very great tzaddikim. Rebbe Nosson was Talmud of Rebbe Yitzchak of Berditchev. He wrote certain parts, I don't know, a lot or a little, of Dushas Levi. In other words, he heard what he heard from Levi Sabidich, he wrote it. When the people during Rebbe Nosson's time had this great machlokes, there was strife against Breslov, and they were complaining. The Talmidim were complaining to Rebbe Nosson how difficult it is to be a Breslover. And Rebbe Nosson said, in fact, it's quite easy. Yeah, there are difficulties involved in that. It's just that when he was young and he became a Breslover Chassid, he said that was a time when the Baal Tanya was around, Rebbe Yitzchak Berditchev was around, the Rebbe Reb Zusha from Anipoli was around, the huge, great tzaddikim, Nachum Chernobyl was around, and Rabbeinu was the youngest one of them all. And he said that time was far more difficult to be a Breslover than it is today, because today, that being a Breslover is what you need to do, because Rabbeinu will bring you to Kadosh Baruch Hu. So the difficulties are technical. You have to be strong in your mind. You have to do what you need to do. But Rabbeinu told us that the biggest obstacles are always what you call Minir Samoyach, the obstacles within your own mind. How would you know to choose between Rabbeinu and the Baal Tanya and the Dushas Levi of Berditchev and the Moranai from Chernobyl? I mean, you're talking about huge tzaddikim, and to pick up Dafka Rabbeinu, who was the youngest one, Rebbe of Mezhibos, of course, and his uncle, and Rebbe Chaim of Sadlikiv, his other uncle, huge tzaddikim. I mean, how would you know which one to choose? He said it was much more difficult. He also said, I used to know great tzaddikim. I know great tzaddikim that got to incredible level of kedusha and unbelievable domains in Gan Eden. But he also says, if they had my broken heart, he says, all the dominions of Gan Eden wouldn't have been enough for them. They were far greater than I am, but if they had my broken heart, there's not enough Olam Haba to give them. It's a very short Sikha, and there's a tremendous yesod that if we're able to internalize that particular foundation, this principle, we will get an incredible tool to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is a mahalach that was put down by David Gewirtzman. Rebbe Nosson he knew the entire Torah. He was, a genius, Shenke Dugmoso. If you just take a quick look, in the Likutei Halachos. The Likutei Halachos was written with tremendous speed. Very often that when Rebbe Nosson would write the next page, the first page was still wet. The ink was still wet on the first page. His hands flew on the page. And you take a look and you see what he wrote. When you read Likutei Halachos, you see that Rebbe Nosson brings down verbatim from the entire Tanakh, from all the Mishnah, all the Gemara, all the Zohar, all the Kisvei Arizal, all Shulchan Aruch, everything, everything by heart. Didn't have, a computerized disc, that has all the without. There's certain halachas that he wrote in jail, certain halachas he wrote while traveling. It was written in tremendous speed. At the same time, Rebbe Nosson, spent his time on the road. He was persecuted to a degree which is impossible to understand. It's not the place and the time to get into it, but basically his life was literally in danger. They hired an assassin to kill him and his family. It was unbelievable. You can read it, on Fire and Water from Chaim Kramer. It's not a reading for the faint of heart. It's unbelievable what he went through. They were persecuting him. They put him in jail. Unbelievable poverty that he lived in. He lost children. He lost grandchildren. In 1 year, he lost his wife. He lost a son and a grandson, all in 1 year. And throughout all this, he wrote all his books, all his Sfarim, which are filled with inspiration and with simcha. And every single thing that he went through was a backdrop for another gilui, another revelation of a few more lines in the Sefer. He wrote literally thousands of letters. We have a very, very small portion of the letters he wrote, a few hundreds we have left. And they're filled, absolutely filled with chizuk. And there's no criticism there. There's no yelling. There's no berating in these letters. Only cheering up and strengthening. And you see those letters he wrote and played in times that, like it's a time. Sometimes he always says, I mamish before Shachris or in the middle of Shachris or just before Mincha, or before travel, or in the middle of a travel, or and still everything is written in a clear language, Sudadik. Everything is orderly, everything is Yusha, everything is the presence of mind with a beautiful language. And at the same time, Rebbe Nosson was busy in printing Rabbeinu Sfarim, printing them and getting them out, building the shul, the klois in Uman, and following each and every student of his students, spiritually and Gashmis also, took care of them. And if you're talking about printing Rabbeinu Sfarim, Rebbe Nosson actually printed Rabbeinu Sfarim by himself, physically, because the guys from the quote-unquote Enlightenment made, influenced the Goyish government to make censorship on the Sfarim, and it was forbidden to print the Sfarim, the Baal Tanya, and Breslev, and the Zohar Kodesh. All these were forbidden to print. The taina is that these Sfarim bring a person to atzvus, to sadness. Yeah, you can understand that. I mean, if a person wants to go after his heart and do a virus, these Sfarim definitely can make a person depressed. The only way to print them was to go out of the country to Moldova, and to somehow print it and sneak it in, smuggle it in. And at the same time, Rebbe Nosson has actually established an illegal printing press in his own home, where he himself prepared, the luchos, the printing pans, putting the letters together. The letters had to be made of lead, and had to put together word for word, and the distance between the words and line for line, and setting the whole thing together, page by page. And that's what Rebbe Nosson did. Tremendous Mesiras Nefesh. So you're talking about an unbelievable genius. Rebbe Nosson was a great, great, great tzaddik. Rebbe himself said he was on par with the Baal Tanya, with Levi Tzach Berditchev, and all of those. He was on par with all these tzaddikim. He was constantly, ceaselessly, incessantly active, persecuted every step of the way, suffering for every single step, and still he's filled with he's vivacious, he's filled with simcha. Rab Nachman Tuchin, his main Talmud, he says that his face were always red from simcha. He was always happy. His face was shining with red. To the point of Snagdim said is for sure he's drunk, because that's how his face is red like that. He would walk on the street, he would basically skip, which is simcha. And it's not because Reb Nachman Tuchin it's not because Reb Nosson didn't understand what was going on with it. He knew how. But whatever it is that he went through got him to understand something far deeper, something that he got from Rabbeinu, that he was able to give it to us. By the way, one time, one of the those who were against him went around collecting money for Noson's scholar, and by mistake, he knocked on Noson's door. Now, he didn't get money there because Nosson didn't have any money to give. But he said that he got such chizuk from Rebbe Nosson. He said it helped him more than all the donations that he was able to get. All this that we said about this tremendous simcha that permeated every single step of his life is only a preface to a great wonderment of what we see when we open up his Sefer Lekutei Tfilos. Lekutei Tfilos is filled with crying, is filled with shouting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You hear roaring from the heart. The entire Lekutei Tfilos is something that comes out from a totally broken heart. It's not clear how does it match the simcha of his life. It filled everything else that he was doing. Take a look at this tefillah. The tefillah is filled with, and you can't fake it. I mean, the Lekutei Tfilos is magical. It's literally magical. You open the Lekutei Tfilos, wherever you open it, where you just take it and just open it, and you start saying it, you start davening it, and you see it's exactly what you need right now, right at this point in your life. You can't fake this. This Kula Kodesh, they asked me once he came from Tzir Rabbeinu, and they said that people wonder, being a Lekutei Tfilos, I mean, there's a lot, and that's not all the tefillos that he wrote. He wrote more, but I think some of them were lost. But I mean, it's a big volume, and the tefillos are long. So people ask whether the tefillah was written with Ruach HaKodesh. He also says these tefillos are much higher than Ruach HaKodesh. He says these tefillos, Lekutei Tfilos, they stem completely from the 50th gate of Kedusha, which is the gate that will be revealed when Mashiach will come. So, how does it stem? How does it dovetail? These full with crying and with anguish and with crying out dovetails with the simcha, with the vitality. How does it fit together? We that are so far from chizuk, we're so far from simcha. We all experience, brokenheartedness. We sadness, and we can't get to such tremendous, crying out from the heart. We can't get that. In fact, I mean, when things go well, we can't even open up our mouth to ask anything. If I daven a good mincha, or I felt a little taste in learning, I'm satiated, I'm fine, I'm satisfied. The more we consume spiritually, the less desperate we feel. But we're not even available to ask. So what brought Rebbe Nosson, who was constantly consuming Kedusha and producing Kedusha, incessantly, to such a broken heart? Parallel to his incredible greatness and his simcha. Apparently, this is exactly the nikuda of Rebbe Nosson. There is an unknown gift, which is called a lev nishbar, a broken heart. It is so unknown, it's even unwanted, that in fact we're trying to run away from that. When we feel brokenhearted, we want to run away from this. We want to just give up its presence. That's why the minute we have a lev nishbar, a broken heart, we try to do something to get out of it. Even if Kedusha says some kapitel Tilim, a few blood Gemara, just finish up with it. Not remain with this broken heart. I mean, obviously it's wonderful when you do something with it. When you get so broken, you go ahead and make his way to this. It'd be so difficult to make his way to this without it, but finally you get to the point that you're like so choked, you're so broken. It forces you already to do something, which is gewalt. It's wonderful. But while it's very good that we do something with it, it's not good that we just are satisfied with doing something with it and that's it. We have to be better businessmen than that. We have to take this tremendously precious commodity called broken heart and really make some serious profits off it. Rebbe Nosson said, the mind from which I took everything that I did is the brokenheartedness. Not because of the difficulties that he went through. That wasn't it. But a broken heart is something, it was the vector of his movement. It was the direction of his entire movement that brought him to look for and to search and to search and to search until he found the most precise emes for himself. He was a gun. He was a Talmid Chacham. He was by the most incredible tzaddikim. And still, he was not satisfied. Until he got to his Rebbe, until he got to Rabbeinu, and then he found what he was looking for. This is by far the most precious commodity that a Jew can have in this world. It's also the most accessible one. Anybody and everybody is close to a broken heart. But we don't want to feel it. We want to feel a little high, maybe not high, it's like, eating something or smoking something, but, in a good mood. We want to feel good. In fact, we want to hide from the entire world the fact that we are actually dealing with something. We're fighting a battle that they don't know anything about. Somebody asks you, how are you? The only thing that you have is amazing. Baruch Hashem, amazing, unbelievable. Or at least upset, Baruch Hashem, it's only when you get home, when you make sure the door is closed, you take out all the bitterness which is in your heart, the lev nishbar. Because, as the lev nishbar is only those who are, losers. It's only for losers. Those that whine all day long. How much in pain they are. And they use it in order to solicit some rahmanas from the people around them. Rebbe Nosson said, it teaches us something completely different. Stop portraying as if everything is okay. And stop whining also. Take your broken heart and take 1 hour a day and take that broken heart, but take it all the way through. All the way through. A lev nishbar, a broken heart, is not something you have to go and purchase in the store. You have it in your heart. We all have it in our hearts. The problem is that we sort of like sublimate it. We like push it away. We convert it into something else, into being a foodie or or whatever it is that we are. We sort of like push it away. We sublimate into something else because we don't want to feel this. It's like somebody who's basically sitting on an oil well and he doesn't dare bring up the oil because they told him that oil burns. He can get burnt. So, okay, so he's not going to dig for oil. It's true that oil burns, but it also warms. A person is afraid that if he's going to dare feel a broken heart, he will become depressed. He will break into pieces. And it's true if you use it wrong. What does it mean, use it wrong and use it right? The answer, using it right and using it wrong, means using it in the right dosages. That is what it means. Rebbe Nosson said very simply, the entire day you have to be b'simcha. Pashut. All day long you have to be b'simcha. 1 hour a day, lev nishbar, a broken heart. That's it. One influences the other. If you are happy all day long, you can spend 1 hour with a broken heart. You'll really feel the broken heart. You'll give it a voice. You're able to daven for it. You're able to do whatever you need to do with it. If you're not happy the whole day long, you won't be able to give voice to the broken heart. Or if you're not happy the whole day long, what happens is that basically you're going the entire day with a broken heart. And when that time of 1 hour coming for his B'edus, no words will come out. You're basically swimming in the sea of broken heart. Because if you are going around all day long without simcha, it doesn't leave 1 minute to a true lev nishba. Everybody is buried. Each and every one of us is buried within himself. So people won't see how weak we are. Everybody, each and one of us is propping up, the facade that, it's all cool, everything is all right. I'm coping, it's okay. Or, fakir, you're taking the bitterness and that becomes your profession. You go, you tell everybody how bad things are, how difficult things are. So everybody will feel Rahmanis. That's it, Rachman. That's not a way of a Jew. A Jew has to be filled with life and filled with and smiling. But the lev nishbar, the broken heart, has to be in the picture, part and parcel of the whole deal. At a certain time during the day, when this is what you do, if you're going through the day b'simcha, you don't let the lev nishbar, the sadness during the day overwhelm you. But you're mischazik b'simcha, you'll be able to put this 1 hour in. Then the lev nishbar becomes cash, cold hard cash. You consider Kodesh Baruch Hu with it. It's a gold mine. It's a gold mine. When there's already a chance of bringing a lev nishbar, if you're happy all day long, you have a chance of bringing a lev nishbar, just bring it all the way through. Just let it rip. They say the Gemara, not halfway. The Gemara says whenever there was Lo Aleinu Avelis, they would bring professional safdanim, to eulogists to eulogize. People that can cry, that make everybody cry, that broke. When there's already a chance when people cry, cry, let it rip, let it use it. That's the time to unload. That's the time to bring it all out, to drain that cesspool. When you're doing it properly, it's not a psychological idea of how to handle a Lev Nishbar. How to handle the depression in one's life. It is literally the highest. It is literally the highest level of Avodas Hashem. Literally. Hold on just a second. It's the highest level of Avodas Hashem because that's the open channel to Avodas Hashem. It's the deepest, most direct connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All the bitterness that you have is just a tool to get to that particular place. There were people that were able to do great things with it and to buy eternity for themselves, not because they were super successful. Fakir. Exactly the opposite, but because they were broken. But they did not fall into sadness. They did not let him bring him to depression. They turned that brokenness into a nigun, into a music, into Avodas Hashem, into closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You cannot buy eternity with money or with status. In order to gain eternity, you have to know what the address is and how you put it into action. Your address is the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and the way that you get a Kadosh Baruch Hu to act for you and to bring you to Him is, as it were, is when you come broken to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Come broken to Kadosh Baruch Hu not because life is difficult. You bring to Kadosh Baruch Hu because you are far from Him. When you bring a Kadosh Baruch Hu something really impressive, all shots, all this, Kadosh Baruch Hu is not impressed with that. He has a lot of those, and they're all more impressive than you are. But you bring the nothing. Look at me. Look at me. I'm not bringing anything to the table. I mean, for every right step I take two wrong ones. That's the most beautiful point that you can bring to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Brokenheartedness is not a defect. Brokenheartedness is the closeness to Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's very, very difficult to explain that particular nikuda, because whenever you talk about this, it sounds like, okay, so you want to give me a little chizuk, you want to make me feel good about myself, you want to, okay, so psychologically, you're psychologizing me and bringing him up, or whatever it is. But that's not what it is. I don't want to feel this brokenheartedness. This brokenheartedness is an understanding, a very profound understanding of what does it mean to look for Kadosh Baruch Hu, and what it means not to look for Kadosh Baruch Hu. What I'm missing out. When Torah Chafalef Rabbeinu speaks about Shivim Avelus, Rabbeinu talks about saras, spiritual leprosy. Rabbeinu talks about busha, and he brings this in that in the Olam Haba, every tzaddik, gets singed, gets burnt from the makif of his friend. And the Gemara says, that's a Gemara that says that. And the Gemara says about this, it says, the face of Moshe is like the face of the sun, and the face of Yeshua is like the face of the moon. And the Gemara says, Oy lo asabusha, woe to that shame. Oy lo sacherpa, woe to that humiliation. Moshe, Yeshua. In other words, Yeshua would feel this shame facing Moshe. I mean, Yeshua Binu. The one Kodesh Baruch Hu says, if you don't bring it to Israel, nobody brings it to Israel. What shame is there? What Yeshua Binu did not do everything that he could do. What kind of shame are we talking about? What kind of brokenheartedness are we talking about? The thing is that once a person gets to Olam Haba, he finds out what he missed out on. If only I would have invested more. If only I would have done more. If only I would have stayed away more from whatever it is that makes me feel better in this here and now here. That thing that blots away my sadness, it blots away my loneliness, it blots away my whatever it is. To make myself feel better. I don't know, it's food, it's internet, it's whatever. Each person does whatever he or she does. Olam Haba, suddenly you find, it's like the story that Lahavdil, it's not even within. They say that a person is going to a land where the ground is strewn with diamonds and gems. And the person looks at this like, wow, it's totally, maybe it's the people of that land just totally that don't pay attention to it. They have so much of it, it's like the sand, it's like they have different things which are rare, so they're considered to them to be, important. So in the beginning, that person fills his pockets with the gems and with the diamonds, whatever it is, and is laughing at anybody. You're worried about whether your team won the World Series or not, or whatever it is, whether your wife has a Louis Vuitton handbag or Gucci or NFTs, whatever it is, it's like whether they were eating caviar or sushi or whatever it is. The ground is full with diamonds. Come on, that's everybody. It's cheap, everybody. So in the beginning, when you get close to Yiddishkeit, you're saying, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about? Look, there's diamonds to be picked up all around. But then slowly you get into life the way, to live life on life's terms where you are. And you become captive, to that which people feel is valuable. And you stop picking up the diamonds. You try to, to win the World Series or watch your soccer team win or whatever it is that it interests you. Whatever it is that floats your boat, whatever it is that turns you on. And then that person returns back to his land, and then they say, okay, what did you bring? This is what do you mean what they bring? What things of value did you bring? So he's looking at himself, and he said, he finds in his pocket here and there in the creases, he finds a diamond, 2 diamonds, 3 diamonds. That's what he brought. So wow, well, that is the thing that has value. You could have had sackfuls. You can bring diamonds by the ton. But I was busy eating sushi. I was busy showing off. I was busy hiding the fact that I was saying. In other words, can you imagine when I remember there was a story that my father told me. I hated that story. He said that when they sent him after the Second World War, that he went from Germany, he went through Germany and he went to over the bridge, and people took German coins that they had, and they threw them out the window. And he says before he went on the train, somebody gave him a whole suitcase full with Deutschmarks. And he thought this is what you do. So he took that suitcase and he threw all the money out of the window. When he came, to the other side of the river, I don't know if it was France or whatever it is, he found out that for every mark he got, it was a huge amount of money that he threw away. A fortune. Because people threw coins out of the window, as a symbolic act. So he thought, okay, he threw the money away. Okay, maybe I have here. I hated this story. I felt so like a feeling of missing out. Look what what would have been if you not, if maybe you throw a couple of coins away and keep the entire suitcase filled with Deutschmarks. And, you'll be, I don't know, whatever it is. How much more so when we finish Olam Hazeh and we go to Olam Haba? Whether you call it Lasad Lavai in the future, you call it Yom Adin, you call it Olam Haba, you call it Gan Eden, whatever it is. The missing out, I had a whole suitcase filled with, with bills and bonds, worth a fortune. And I threw it all out the window. You're like those guys that, in the like 12, 15 years ago, had, 1,000 or 2,000 Bitcoins, which is worth, I don't know how many millions today, but they don't remember where they put the password, so they can't get to it. But we're talking about eternity. So you can imagine the degree of shock and shame and humiliation, what I could have done, and I didn't. In Olam Haba, Lev Nishbar is understanding that in this world. While you're still in this world, you realize I'm going to come up to the next world, and I throw away the diamonds. I spend time that I could collect diamonds, which is Torah and mitzvahs, and beg for the true tzaddikim, to beg for the right time and place. And I wasted it and either feeling sorry for myself or doing things to assuage that self-pity that I had felt. That feeling of Lev Nishbar is the thing that drives you. They say that necessity is the mother of invention. Lev Nishbar is the realization of the necessity. The realization of how far I am from filling my pockets with Torah and mitzvahs in Avodas Hashem. What it is that I can do in this world. how important it is that I don't cheat myself in this world. How important it is that I get myself close to the true tzaddik that can heal me, that can cleanse me, it can fill me with Yir Shamayim so I can actually fulfill whatever it is I need to fulfill in this world. This is Rebbe Nosson. That is the message of Rebbe Nosson. All the Teres of Rebbe Nosson, all the tefillas of Rebbe Nosson, all the Indian of being close to Rabbeinu is in order to get this motor of using that inherent brokenheartedness, which is within you. And instead of wasting it, or trying to get away from it, or run away from it, you use it to acquire fortunes forever. To understand shtickle, we spoke about it one time before, so what do I mean? Fortunes forever. Okay, it sounds wonderful, but Reb Shimon Tachna explains that what's the difference between Yiras HaOnesh, the fear of punishment, and Yiras HaRomimus, the awe of the greatest of Kodesh Baruch. So he says the example that is given only tells you, what it is like negatively, but he doesn't tell you what it is in the positive sense. But you can take that example and understand what it means in the positiveness, you'll be able to understand what this is about. It says that a fear of punishment is you take your family, tobogganing, and half a mile away you see a lion. Okay, now a lion is not something that you want to tangle with, without great care. So Yiras HaOnesh means that you gather your entire family, you get back in the car, and you skedaddle as quick as possible. Yiras HaRomimus is when you find yourself 30 feet from a lion. You freeze. You just don't exist anymore. You're totally consumed by the fear that you don't even feel, oh, I'm afraid. You don't even feel afraid anymore. You just, even if you have a gun in your hand, you can't even lift it. This is to the negative side. Yiras HaRomimus means that you realize the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that awe becomes a doorway for you to receive the chayas and the pleasure from the closeness of Hashem. It's like, I don't know, when you fall in love, you feel like you're walking on clouds. That's a mashu shebemashu. That's a muscle for what it is like to be close to Kadosh Baruch Hu. The love for a person to his parents, from a person to his children, from a person to his wife, are all basically little shards of the true love that connects a person to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the vessel to acquire that, to make, is a lev nishbar. As long as you're happy all day long, no matter what happens, you say thank you for everything, whether it feels good or not, and you put just 1 hour, and that 1 hour You just let it go. You cry, you shout, you do everything. And both things are true. If you have 1 hour that you shout and you cry, you can be happy all day long. And vice versa. If you are happy all day long, you'll be able to cry for 1 hour. If you don't do this or you don't do that, then life becomes filled with, life tastes like bitter almonds. It's like that. Baruch Hashem, Rebbe Nosson. We have a shining light that have paved the roads, that paved the access to get to Rabbeinu HaKadosh, to the tzaddik, that can get to each and every one of us and lift us up and put it in the right way so we can get to a Lev Nishmer, so we can get to collecting whatever it is we need to collect in this world. Schusi Agan Aleinu. I want to wish each and every one of you, B'ezrat Hashem, be able to fast tomorrow properly and say the whatever the slichus, whatever it is that needs to be said. Chapet. Rebbe Yitzchak Berditchev said that the Baal Shem Tov took away the way of Avodas Hashem that is based on fasting. Said this is, but the quote unquote the legal fasting, such as Sabbath Tevis, such as Shavasa B'Tomos, whatever it is, he says we should chop them like cakes, like leikach. Take them. It's a tremendous treasure. These kind of fasting, by fasting is you are sweetening. Says that's when we say yesh din lemata and din lemala, with the judgment below is by us. If we judge ourselves, Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have to judge us. There's no judgment above. But Nosson says, a person should pick himself and pick himself every once in a while, fast a day or two here and there. He says it saves a person from an immense amount of bitterness and yisurim and suffering, like to the point that you cannot even believe. We have such a day coming tomorrow. So instead of just waiting until the time is over and we can eat again, cherish every single moment. As you get through the day and you get the headaches because you didn't have your coffee today, whatever it is, it's like it's a famagan, it's a treasure, because it saves you from so much suffering, so much yisurim, so much judgments. B'ezrat Hashem, we will meet together on Wednesday, learning the Likutei Moharan, Torah Chaf Beis. So